because the examples we'll use will be from the comments. It will be your business so that it's easily applicable. So you'll let us know what you do when it's time. Thank you so much for joining, Caesar. Thank you for being here with us tonight.
Thank you very much for having me, Lisa. Very excited to be here.
Me too, me too, me too. So, I know you've had a consistent presence in the digital space. At least I became familiar with your brand, I think around 2017, 2018, when you were leading the Grow Your Profit. Am I
W
right?
Profit Academy,
Double
yes,
Your
you.
Profit Academy, yes. And you were teaching heavily on copywriting. And I could see how, because at that point, I didn't really think copywriting was going to be my thing or sales either. But you made it very easy for every type of business. And there's this particular funnel, I think this was post Double Your Profit Academy, the bank manager's funnel. So, yeah, how do business owners who are not necessarily marketers, because marketing and sales are key skill sets if you're looking to make sales in your business. If you don't have those skills, there's no monetizing. Am I right?
True.
Yeah. So, how can business owners who are not necessarily from the marketing space, who are not necessarily, and I say this because I know some people in the digital economy may be web designers. They are not necessarily marketers and salespeople. They might be graphic designers or anybody who is just in the digital economy that maybe has a beauty brand, because I know someone here has a beauty brand that they are launching in the digital space. So how can they, without a marketing and sales experience, be able to market and actually sell their brand to the point that it becomes something scalable, reaching 3,000 people, 300,000 people like your business?
Okay, so usually before you decide that you want to scale your business, the first thing you need to be very clear about is the size of the market you're playing in, because you are definitely not going to grow bigger than the size of the market you play in. So there are markets that have it in them to scale without even putting in so much effort. And then there are also markets where no matter what you do, you would not scale beyond a certain level. So how can you tell that the market has what it takes to scale? The first thing you need to do is to look at the leader in that market. So when you look at, find out who the leader is, you now study the numbers that the leader is getting in that market. That should give you an estimate of the size of the market. So when you look at the Nigerian market as a whole, and you look at every single billionaire in this economy, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, what sector of the economy are these guys playing in? And you'll notice that they are playing in commodities. You have Dangote, who is doing commodity trading. He's doing industries. These are the kind of markets that scale in this economy. You would also look at men like Otedola that have stake in the oil industry. These are the sections of the market that are scaling. Now, of course, you can't play in such market. They are very, very big for people like us that are probably starting from nothing. So what you now have to do is to look at the market on your own level and say, what exactly are people selling in the marketplace that is bringing a lot of cash flow? And I remember that recently, I think it was 7 years ago, there was this boom in the hair market. So a lot of people started making a lot of money from selling hairs, right? And the reason why a lot of people went into the market was because they saw that the leaders in that market were making so much money. So our instinct is designed in such a way to push us to get into this sort of market, right? And usually what happens when our instincts start to push us to this sort of market is to say, okay, these guys are making so much money from the market. Maybe if I get into the market, so I'm going to make as much money. But then you have to become more intentional in looking at the market you want to play in, looking at the leaders, and then deciding that this market now is big enough. So the moment you decide that the market is big enough, the first thing you need to do is to create an offer for the market. Now, the offer you create in the market should not be designed to take on the leader of the market from day one. Now, this is the problem that a lot of people have. They have these big ideas, what they want their idea to become, and then they set out to try to go against the leader of the market. But if you do that, you're going to be playing in waters that, one, you're not very good at. You're going to be playing in waters that somebody else dominates, and it's going to be very, very difficult to, get to the point where you become a leader of the market yourself. So I'm going to give you a practical example so you understand what I mean. So, for example, when we created our company, we noticed that the leader of the market was, they had a certain kind of strategy that we would not beat. We would not beat that strategy. So what we did was we created the opposite of what they were doing. So if, for example, you look at the market and you see that the leader is, I'm going to give you an example now with Facebook. When Facebook started, Facebook did not start. Before Facebook started, there was already a leader in the market. I think it was MySpace or something. There was this leader in the market at that point, and what they did was they instead of creating a social network from day one, they designed Facebook to be a photo sharing app for students, right? And then from being a photo sharing app for students, they now gained traction. They went into more schools, and before you know what's going on, it went viral, went out of the schools, and then started to spread, right? So that is exactly how to take on a giant. So there are two steps. I'm going to just finish this up with this. So there are two steps to building a business that would scale. Number one is to look at the market you want to play in and then decide whether you should play in that market based on the size of the leader. So the size of the leader of the market will determine how successful you're going to get in that market. So if you look at, let's say, the um, the driving business, right? Taxi business. So who's the biggest person that who's the biggest taxi driver? How much do they make? That should give you an estimate of how profitable the taxi business is, right? So you need to first of all decide who do you want to be like, what is the success that they have achieved in that market. And then when you decide that the market is big enough for you to play in, the next thing you want to do is to find a section of that market and begin to provide the value that the market leaders are not providing for a very small section of the market. That way, once you give that small section a result, you're going to be more likely to gain traction that is going to actually make you scale. So the idea is to get started with a small section of the market, get numbers, get cash flow going, and the moment that happens, then you can have enough war chest to take on um, the broader market. So that's it.
Awesome. That's great. This even answers the question of validating an idea that I was going to ask. So you kind of summed it all together, and that's great. Um, how then do you, because at this point, I also think another thing before you even start looking at an industry, before people, a lot of entrepreneurs really look at the industry or the value chain as
Mhm.
as you've advised. How then do you differentiate between an idea from a profitable venture? How do you know that, okay, in the Nigerian economy, based on how people buy, what are the indicators that this is most likely an idea its time has not yet come, or an idea that this is not the country or economy for?
Okay, so usually before you I think that on a subconscious level we know that an idea is not for the the country that we
Yeah,
are in.
yeah.
Usually what happens is that a lot of people want to be smart. A lot of people want to create, a lot of people want to solve problems, fancy problems. Usually people tend to solve the problems that they make up themselves. But
Mm,
for you to actually create a product that people would love and use and come back to use over and over again, you need to actually solve real problems. You need to look at the entire behavior of the market. And usually you're going to know whether a problem is real or not. So I think the way to know is to be sure that you're not solving a problem that is not real. I remember there was this idea that I had when I was in school. Um, it was the idea that actually got me to online marketing and starting businesses online, because I wanted to create a platform where people would get anonymous news information on different students in different departments, right? So I got the idea after watching Gossip Girl. It was serious,
Okay.
and then I was like, okay, this could be, this could work here. I tried to do it, and I nearly got into some serious trouble, right? So those are the ideas that, might not really work here, right? And the reason why they might not work is because at that time the internet adoption was low, so nobody
Yeah.
was going to waste time. I think that was when to go was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there was no WhatsApp at that point. So
Mm-hmm.
the way to pass the information was not even there. So the idea that I had was that people were going to download the app and then go on the app to get news, and the idea was just not ripe for the market at that time. So the thing is, most of the time you're going to know, and for you to actually get on an idea, you need to test it on a small scale. So somebody reached out to me recently and said they wanted to create um, a very very nice business in the real estate sector. And what I told him was that he should first of all, before he builds the entire funnel, he should first of all put people in a group, a WhatsApp group, and test the idea inside the WhatsApp group before they even start.
Yeah.
Right. So most of the features that we have on our platform was not built on day one. What we did was we built the very, very basic stuff. First of all, we created a Telegram channel. We put people in the Telegram channel just to test um, the interest people would have in having an alternative platform. And then when we saw the interest, we said, okay, this is probably going to work. And then we created. Before we started creating the platform, I think you can tell whether an idea is going to work by doing two things. Number one, go to Facebook, go to the search bar, type in the name of the industry you want to create the idea for. So let's assume you want to create an idea for drivers. Go on Facebook, type in Uber drivers. You're going to see, and then filter it down to groups. You're going to see hundreds of groups, or probably a lot of groups with thousands of people inside that have Uber drivers. So what you now do is to think up an offer that is going to be free of charge, and say, okay, I want, let's take for example, health insurance for Uber drivers. You want to test to be sure that people would want that. You go to the group, you type in, I want to give you, free eye check if you're an Uber driver. If you're interested, join this WhatsApp group. If you're interested, join this Telegram group. Now, the number of people that join the Telegram group would give you an idea, of how hot or not hot that
The
idea
off.
is. Yes, the
Yeah.
offer. So that's how I think that you can test if an idea is going to work in a particular setting.
Wow, that even makes it more interesting. So there's a market where it's a group somebody has already created, basically a market, a digital market, and you just go there and um, provide them value and see how they respond. And based on the number of people that respond, you know that it's not something that is going to turn out really well
Mm.
for you. Okay.
Yes.
Um, Now, after doing that research, now you validated the idea. A few people are responding, and you've made a free offer. How do you, I think another challenge that most people have is when they've started as with a freemium plan, how to now move into paid offers is now the
Yes.
problem. So how do you now move them when you validated that, oh, these people actually are interested? How do you get them into pay mode so you can monetize and have enough resources to support the business?
Mhm. Okay, it's a two-step process, right? Most of the time, every single platform that you know on earth that has a lot of traction, that have good numbers, most of them do not start out as a
Yeah,
focus,
paid platform.
right?
Yeah.
So one way you can do this is, the first step to creating a product that people are going to pay for is to create an MVP. So an MVP means minimum viable product. So it's a very small section of your product that you can create very fast that people will get to use. So once you create that MVP, the next step is to create something that people would buy. So most of the time, what people do is that they have different plans. They have a free plan, and then they have a paid plan. So most people do not know that. I think it was 2009 or 2010. Mailchimp was a free platform. It was a 100% free platform, and then decided to create um, 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 sections where you had to pay to access, right? And that is exactly how you create that graduation. So once you create your MVP, the paid part of your platform is going to be the MVP plus more additions. So when you now add more additions, automatically the free guys would want to people. Most of the time, human beings think like cats. When you put a cat in a closed room, they will go to the door, they will scratch it, they will scratch. They want to go to the nest to the other side of the door. When you open the door, you bring them to the other side. They go back and try to scratch so they can go back to the other side of the door. So once you slam a door in people's face, they usually would want to go through it. And that's exactly what you do when you have um, your MVP, and then tomorrow you come up with more things under your MVP, and then you ask people to buy to get it, right? So it becomes a case of, especially if you've created enough value with your MVP, you've given so much value that people begin to imagine how your the paid part of your product would be. Also, once you give people amazing value with your MVP, they love the product, then they would naturally want to graduate to the paid plan. And that's exactly what's happening with platforms like Canva. So Canva is majorly a, a paid a free platform, right? So you can create a Canva account right now and begin to use it. But because you see the sort of value that Canva is bringing on that front end alone, on the MVP, you would begin to crave the pro plan. And then of course a lot of people do not eventually get a pro plan, but I can tell you that Canva is very profitable because there are a lot of people also who would want to get the pro plan. There are a lot of people who would be so impressed by the MVP that they have experienced, they immediately want to do business further with the platform. So I think that's what you need to do. So the first thing you need to do is to create an MVP. Then the next thing you need to do is to stack up more value to the MVP and then charge people for it. Or there are different models you can use to sell your product. You mustn't start out as a free platform, all right? So, or a free product. You could also start out, your MVP could also be a lot of value for a small price, right? People know. So there's this product that I created. Um, it was a precursor to a different product I was selling. In the offer, what we did was we give people 3,987 swipe files for just 5,000 naira. Right. So what this did was it brought people in, it gave them satisfaction for a very small amount of money. And then that small amount of money gave us money we could use to run ads so that we get more people into the funnel. And then later we took them into an upsell sequence that sold an advanced program. So that's like the two ways you can get started, and then get people to buy the advanced program.
Thank you for being so detailed with examples. I like how you give the examples on the freemium plan. I'm a huge fan of Canva. I was a Canva fan. The very first time I discovered them, I'm like, this is such an incredible solution for people who don't necessarily have graphic design skills, but still want to be able to design, especially people who can afford to hire a large team. And yeah, that just makes it easy to get people. And like you said, most businesses that have large customers, even to date, have a freemium model where people sign up and experience their solutions and decide if they want to pay for the other features. I think at this point, I would like somebody to drop a business idea or an existing business, because the next question I want to ask really is on monetization and different types of revenue for that you can create within your business. And I think it's another thing that people struggle with, because if what you decided to monetize is not necessarily what the customer wants to pay for, then you have a solution that is valuable, that is needed, but you're not just offering what is valuable to the customer enough for them to pay. So, can somebody drop their business? I know some people joining and their business, but I don't want to like let it not be as if I'm favoring any particular person. Drop your business idea or company in the comments, and we can use that for that example. While that is happening, I'm just going to go to the importance of building a marketing team even beyond your company. And I know this is what Stakecut really offers business owners. And I know that to a great extent, people who leverage affiliates are many people that sell digital products. But I think there's also an opportunity for other types of businesses that sell physical products or have other types of business models. So, can you speak on affiliate marketing when it comes to actually reaching your customers in ways that you may not even have the resources or team members or experience and knowledge to reach to customers?
All right. So usually I tell people that having plugging in, um, plugging in affiliate marketing into your business is like outsourcing your marketing to a sales team, right? So most of the time, people hire salespeople to
Okay, I think
is you're plugging into an existing database of salespeople, and you're having them promote your product and sell your offer, but you're actually paying them based on the results that they bring. And it's so amazing because um, as of last week, we have creators who earn as much as 1.5 million naira from a stream that ordinarily wouldn't have um, wouldn't have been there if they didn't plug into an affiliate platform. So if you have any products that you want to sell, if you have any products that you feel you need salespeople for, one thing that you should do is to actually go on a platform like ours and then begin to recruit these people, begin to bring these people into your team and have them push your product. And usually, vendors go on these platforms and decide to do revenue share based on what they can manage at that time. So you could do 50-50, you could do 60-40, you could do 80-20, depending on what exactly fits into what you're building, right? So that's what I think. That's how I think everybody can leverage affiliate marketing for their stuff.
so. You mentioned creators. So is it specifically for creators and people
No,
who
no,
may have some models?
no. We have a skincare person who sold a product to somebody in Botswana recently. So,
Interesting.
so if you have physical products and all of that, you could come on the platform. We're going to be sure that your business is a real business before we have you on the platform, and then you can do your business. It mustn't be digital products.
Okay, that's awesome. So I am not seeing. Okay, I was wondering if anybody was going to show up because I was about to throw my own business idea. I have a ton of them, and I've gotten like a strategy right on. So I'm just gonna put this question on the screen from Okewa, who said, "Could you please give an example of how my hair care brand, Okewa Hair, can maximize MVP? That's minimum viable product, especially if we are not focusing on selling our knowledge." That's an interesting question. Over
Okay.
to you.
Okay. Sorry. So so in your own, we need to actually first of all realize, get what MVP is. So MVP is minimum viable product. So for different people, MVP can mean a lot of things. So for somebody who probably wants to dominate in the fashion industry, and they don't have a large war chest to dominate the fashion industry with, their minimum viable product could be a product for a section of the market. Now, let's say you're playing in the hair industry, right? Um, your minimum viable product could be braids, right? I don't know. Like I'm giving this example from a limited knowledge of your market. So your minimum viable product could be focusing on just braids, like those removable braids. And then this becomes the industry where you penetrate from. So MVP is the product that allows you to penetrate into the market so people know you before you now start creating different other product type. Before you start to bring different other product types. So in your case, you could have those braids. You could do so that this lady that I worked with at some point, she is into skincare. So when she reached out, I told her that rather than try to sell the same thing that everybody was selling, why don't you try to focus on the section of the market that treats the fallout from bad creams. So we designed her brand so she can be corrective skincare expert. So she became a corrective skincare expert, and this positioned her to sell her product to a certain section of the market. This became her MVP because everybody knew her as the person that helps you to correct the issues that happen when you finally use the cream that burns your face, for example. And that became the MVP. So you need to look at the value chain of your market and say, okay, what is that small section of the market that somebody is not that everybody that most people are overlooking. So once you find that section of the market and you create a solution or you bring a solution, you bring a solution for that section, you have created your MVP. So that's how to look at it. So your MVP is the minimum viable product, the product that would allow you to get into the market without stressing your pocket, without stressing your team, without having a lot of friction. So that.
Okay. And she says, in addition to my question, we sell natural hair care products like shampoos and conditioners. Um, will the Do you want to still speak on this, or give her more ideas around figuring out the MVP? I think of your previous answer still covers,
Yeah.
but
Yes, it does. And it does, right? And okay, so now, I mean, you have your MVP, and I think the MVP is very obvious from what you've just said. Now, you you're in the market of caring for hairs, right? So you help people care for the hairs that they've already bought. So I mean, that could be the angle you come out with, right? So usually MVP doesn't mean that you create something that nobody has ever created before. It could be that you have articulated what you're offering in such a way that it becomes very clear why people need to do business with you. So I mean, I know that people keep their hairs and they have it all. They buy a lot of hairs, very expensive hairs, and they want to keep it. They want to retouch it and rewig it and all of that, and they want to turn into
yeah.
bobs from time to time, right? So that is a section of the market that you can actually go very hard in, and then become that go-to person when it comes to caring for the investment that has been made.
Mhm. In addition to that, I would even say that I think the thing with selling knowledge is people often think that is when you package courses, or when you package digital, create ebooks, that's when you're selling knowledge. If there's anything I've learned about sales is that it starts before the customer even pays you for the solution. So while you might not be selling knowledge, how do people care for their hair? Using your product, if you can consistently show how someone can wash, clean their hair using your shampoo and conditioner, and like he has said, catering to a particular market. So let's say you're catering to women who have lost their front hairline, either to braiding issues, using glues for were installing wigs, or maybe people who suffered from alopecia, and your product kind of helps them grow back their hair naturally without having to go to Turkey to pay for expensive hair transplant. That is such a key market today. And if you can consistently sell information, not necessarily selling, oh, this is how you can grow your hair, 3-step ebook or 3-step course, but you use that knowledge to sell this particular product consistently and you show it in different formats, that will become your MVP. And from there, someone who bought shampoo for alopecia could buy other products. Their child most likely would not have alopecia, they'll have other needs. And as you scale, you can now have products that are catering for people who are not necessarily people who suffer from this particular problem. So there are just multiple ways to think about it. And if you listen to what he has said, if you took notes, I think when you sit down, you'll be able to create, you might even have like 3 MVPs, and then you now decide to test within the small group. The example he gave, find a small group of people that you test with and see what is a pressing problem for them, and then start with there. And as you sell, you'll be able to like expand your offers. Okay, so I'm going to put up another question. One says advisable channel to sell. Do you mean a channel to sell your products? So this is a follow-up question also for people not necessarily offering services. So advisable channel to sell. What's the advisable channel to sell for people who offer products in the market?
Okay, so I think the way to look at this question is to ask yourself, where do I find buyers, right? So usually, understanding where your buyers come to would give you an idea of the channels that you can work with. So I gave an example with the group thing earlier, and the reason why I did that is because the you can't sell ice to the Eskimos. You cannot sell um,
Right.
diabetes drugs, insulin to somebody who has high blood pressure. Like somebody who has high blood pressure needs something else, right? So when you realize this, you need to ask yourself, okay, how do I now find my target audience? How do I find the people that I can sell to? So there are two ways you can do it. The first one is through organic method. So organic method is where you try to get customers without spending on ads. So basically what you're doing is you're creating content and you are attracting people to what you're selling. And usually, the way you do this is to create content in platforms that allow for your content to go viral. So, for example, if you're creating content on Facebook, it is very difficult to go viral on Facebook unless something happens. Usually, maybe you create something very controversial, someone shares it, and some more people begin to share it, or you probably create a reel that go viral, right? But then, of course, you want to go viral on Facebook, you create reels. If you want to go viral again easily, you could do TikTok, right? TikTok has this tendency to push things, make things go viral. Another thing you could do is to put out Instagram reels, right? So you need to look at where your customer is and then create the sort of content that attracts them. So, for example, if you say okay, you said products, not services. If you say how to care for your front line, if your front line is declining, how to care for it. Now, the kind of people that would be interested in that sort of content would be people who have people who have hairline issues, right? So what you can now do is to add hashtags to the content that you've created. So you could do hashtag forehead gang, because I mean, forehead gang. I think forehead gang. Personally, I have this very unpopular opinion that anybody who's doing forehead gang has reclining hairline. That's the reason why they do forehead gang, right? So you could do hashtag forehead gangs, and basically knowing your customer um, will give you the angle that you would use to attract them. So when you know your customer, you know exactly the sort of content to put out that are going to love. So the first thing you need to do is to put out the content they're going to love, put it out in areas where they congregate. So if, for example, you want to create um, um, let's say you want to sell something to people that have diabetes, for example, you go on Facebook, you go to the search bar, and then you type diabetes, you filter groups, and you join these groups and start to sell your stuff. Usually, people that join these groups are people that have the condition or know someone who does, right? So that is the organic method. Now, the paid method, which is the one that I love, allows you to target people on the internet very easily. You just go to business.facebook.com, you go to your ad manager, and then they allow you to target people based on their likes, their behavior online, right? And what this does is that it gives you a targeted list of people that are likely to be interested in what you're selling, right? So when you go through these two methods, definitely you're going to have people who would want to buy from you. So you can do this on platforms like TikTok, you can do it on YouTube, you can do it on Facebook, and you can do it on um, literally anywhere.
Okay. I like that I ask people to ask these questions because now it is very direct and very practical for anybody. And like you said, it's really your customers. The best sales channel for your business is where your customers gather, where they congregate. There's no other place. If someone tells you Instagram and they don't know your customers enough, it probably will not work out for you. For some people, as weird as it is, and the way people don't like Facebook anymore, because I get into some conversations around marketing and you hear, oh, Facebook is filled with old people. It's no longer fun. It's not like Instagram and Twitter. And I'm like, but the product you're selling, that's where they are. So it's always about your customer. If you can do something as simple as a customer avatar for the different customer segments that you have, and if you're launching one product, maybe just start with one customer that you fully understand, and then go where they are. You'll be able to find them and sell to them. It wouldn't pay to say, and I know people often say, oh, I'm not a very Instagram person. I don't like WhatsApp interactions. If your business requires you to be an Instagram, WhatsApp interaction person, be that. And if you're not, hire somebody. But I always recommend you being that because the energy will flow from you to the person that you're bringing on board. And I think this will be the last question because I don't see any question or comments anymore. The business idea is children clothes and shoes. So how can they, I think this was when we spoke about monetization and creating revenue models for their business. So so you want to jump on this?
Okay, yes. So before I jump on this, I want to make it very quick because I know that when we say understand your customers, it sounds very abstract. A lot of people probably do not know exactly how to understand their customers. So I want to give you a very quick method that you would use to understand your customer. So if you have ChatGPT, you can, I mean, Lisa mentioned it earlier. If you have ChatGPT, you can go to ChatGPT and say, create for me a complete avatar of my customer. I sell children shoes and children bags. Make this avatar very comprehensive. I need to truly and completely understand my customer. And then watch what ChatGPT does for you. So ChatGPT will probably give you their behavior, the way they think, the way they where they are, where you can find them on the internet and all of that. So it gives you a complete breakdown. All right. And you can actually go deeper and say, okay, for this number one you just gave me now, can you break it down, explain X, Y, Z? And that way, by the time you're done, you would have um, then Google Sheets of what you can use for to understand your marketing and design your marketing message better. Now, for the children clothes and shoes, how to monetize. I mean, it's actually very, very. I think it's very obvious because anybody that has a child is emotionally invested in that child, which would mean that they would want to do things for their children. And considering this, you have a very, very large market. And that's why, so all you just have to do is just go out there and begin to sell to that side of the parents' brain where they want to take care of their children, right? They want their children to look good. They want their children to be happy. They want to brag with the fact that their children look a certain way. Just sell your product. Just do it online, do it on Instagram. Pick one channel, go very hard on the channel. And what you need to do to actually get those sales is to make people see their children wearing the clothes. The moment you can make people to picture their children in the clothes you're selling, they are going to want to buy. And usually, the way you can do this is probably just find a cute kid, right? A very fine child, and have the child become your model, right? So you can have lots of kids, and then you put the clothes on them, and then basically have them do model things they do the wrong way and all of that. And I'm very worried about this advice I'm giving, because I don't know the labor laws of Nigeria, because I mean, you can hire a child and all of that, so you need to have that checked before you do that. All right, so with that said, I think that's actually how you monetize. I mean, it's not I don't want to give, there is no fancy idea that I can give you right now, except the one that I just gave you now. It's not fancy. You just go out to start selling the clothes. That's all. Right. So
I like the way you said it. You have to just go out and start selling the clothes. Truly, it's really just going out and selling the clothes. Um, and I think really for children clothing, when you mention child labor laws, there are, you can't hire children, but with the consent of their parents for child models. I'm not certain about the law, but I know with the consent of parents for child models, you can work with them, but it has to be through agencies to be able to do that. But then another thing for people, if you run a child clothing business, like you said, models, one way to market it. But then aside models, I think there's also the fact that in Nigeria, when it comes to children clothing, the Nigerian brands, except for Rough and Tumble, that is intentional about positioning themselves to sell, while Instagram is really great, and I'm saying this for understanding that you might not be at the space where you can actually really scale or you can pay for the platforms that you're going to use, but these things are becoming very easy. And so if you can afford a full e-commerce platform, you can go all the way to get somebody to sign a WordPress or Shopify store for you. Bumper is here for people who are in Nigeria. And then if you're outside Nigeria, Shopify or any other solution is out there. WooCommerce with WordPress is there for you to be able to build an e-commerce store for your business. This is if you're done validating the idea, right? And so when you now set up a store, you can now try different marketing methods on Instagram. I think one of the things I find challenging, specifically about fashion and beauty brands in Nigeria, is there's this. It's as if they are competing for attention on Instagram. And every other 2 days, you see somebody say, "Oh, they blocked our account. This is our new account. Follow us." You're seeing the ad. And I'm like, where your business is at, this shouldn't be your reality anymore. You should actually have a system that guarantees that customers can always come to find you. And it's not as complex. And I like to say this for people who worry about the technology side of things, not as complex as people think it is. It's just you opening your mind to it sometimes. If you sit down, you might see it's just click here, click there, drop a few things here and there, and you have your website set up. I haven't actually used Bumper recently, but the time it came out and I tried it, it's literally just putting picture, putting product description, and that is it. You have the platform set up. And this is, of course, when you've already validated that there's a market, because it doesn't make sense to do all that when you don't have anybody buying. The cost, especially if you're in Nigeria and you're using, say, a Shopify platform, by the time you convert dollar to naira, you'll be upset and you'd ask who sent you this message. So it's usually best to go through the process of validating the idea, leveraging Instagram as a platform to sell. Even WhatsApp particularly. I'm not a huge fan of having to chat with people regularly because it's exhausting. But one thing I've realized is that the Nigerian audience would rather chat you up and say, "Hi, do you have this?" And then you say yes, and they'll go to the website and pay. It's a funny thing, but it's real. So you might not be willing to go all the way and do all that. But again, back to your customers and doing the sales. Sales is sweet, but there's work to it as well. And I'm sure Caesar can affirm that there's work behind any business you see doing huge numbers in sales. It's not as easy as you might think it is, but it's also easy if you embrace it. Okay. Yeah, Kewa is saying that Nigerian audience like WhatsApp. Okay. So I think I don't see any questions in the comments anymore, and we can be wrapping up now for this session. Caesar, do you have any last words for our audience on monetizing and selling from day one?
yeah. when you said Caesar, do you have any last word? The Nigerian in me wanted to say, God forbid, I don't have last words in Jesus' name. But what I can say is this, right? Um, you need to understand that selling is really about, it's a human thing, right? You need to sell to people the way you would love to be sold to. And I see a lot of people go on Instagram, for example, and try to mimic the mannerism of their favorite vendors. And what you're doing is that you are not really passing your message across. And usually, I'm going to give you a framework. I'm going to give you a framework you would use to sell that's going to make you to actually sell better. So the framework is called PCS. All right. So what PCS means is P means problem, C means consequence of the problem, and S means the solution. So when you describe people's problem, tell them the consequence of that problem, tell them the solution to their problem, they are going to be persuaded to buy. So I'm going to give you an example now. So let's assume that I want to sell let's assume I want to sell children clothes because somebody mentioned children clothes at some point. You could say something like this. I know that um, I know that clothes are very expensive right now for children, right? And the reason why they are very expensive is because okay, clothes are very expensive for children right now, and the consequence of this is that you have your children wearing clothes for a very long time. Now, the solution to this is to make sure that you buy your children clothes in bulk. So if you buy clothes in bale for your children, you find out that it's going to be cheaper than actually picking them one by one. And that's why we created our business, to help you get to that point where you don't have to spend so much money. In fact, we even created a bulk buying group. So when you join our bulk buying group, you could be 5 families and buy one bale and have a lot of clothes, and it's going to be for a chicory money. Right. So I mean, this is off the top of my head, but I created this particular everything I said now using the PCS framework. And that is the framework you can use to craft your messaging. And your messaging will begin to resonate with people. I know the lady who sells clothes. I know that if you actually begin to think like this and begin to create your messaging like this, you'll be able to resonate better with people. So you always don't dance, stop dancing on Instagram, and use the PCS framework. All right, so that's it. That's my last words.
Let's stop dancing on Instagram. Instagram wants to make everybody an entertainer or a performer on the
Mm,
platform.
mm.
Yeah. Thank you
Yes,
so
yes,
much for
yes.
that. Thank you for reminding people that practical marketing and sales strategies still actually really work and not just dancing, because you can dance and get all the attention and people will still not buy.
Nobody will buy. They just say nice dances.
Funny, the other day I saw the video of this skit maker, Hawa, and she's like, people keep saying, "Oh, I like your skits." Meanwhile, she's actually making skits about her life. To the extent that that is true, I don't really know because it's a skit. But she was showing that, oh, see this space. I wanted to put my
Mm.
TV here. I wanted to get a new handbag. All these things I talk about,
Is
they
that
are
is a
not
life
just
is a life a joke to them?
yeah. That's what she said. Like the engagement she wants now is wedding engagement or marriage engagement, so
Mm.
that she can get to the next level of her life. And it made
Okay.
me really think how that if this is true, she has a very large platform, she has great visibility, but isn't getting the rewards from it. So yeah, visibility is great, large audiences are great, but make sure that
You have to
as
be
you try
targeted.
exactly. It has to be that for everybody who comes, they are most likely your potential customer. They can become a lead that you can convert to a customer any other time. Thank you so much, Caesar.
Thank you.
How can people reach out to Stakecut? How do people who are interested in building or leveraging the marketing team you have at Stakecut?
Okay, they can
Um,
they can they can follow me on Twitter, Mr.
okay,
Caesar underscore.
let me put
Right?
that at
Or they
that.
can go to www.stakecut.com. So Stakecut is STAKECUT.com.
Okay, stakecut.com. So I'm just going to put that.
I see,
Um,
I see, I see. Okay. I see. Okay. Let me let that.
what did you see?
No, I saw that I was CEO of Go Nomad.
Oh, sorry, that wasn't intentional.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That wasn't intentional. That wasn't intentional. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, guys, if you want to leverage Stakecut affiliate marketing team, which are more or less the easiest way to outsource your marketing, you can just be running your business by yourself, depending on where you are, and you have like a team of over 1,000 people marketing your product every single day. Imagine how amazing that can be for you while you focus on different other parts of your business, especially if marketing is not your strength. And the good thing is that platforms like Stakecut are also focused on creating support for the customers that come on board to sell products. So they can tell you how you can better improve your marketing to make sure that it's something that affiliates want to sell. They have programs every now and then for stakeholders within the space. So you can also follow them. There are a couple of things that you will learn that will help you in your business. Thank you so much, Caesar, for joining. I will let you go so you can enjoy the rest of your evening. By the way, I appreciate the fact that you made it here, regardless of the things that happened today. I don't want to say as I'm pretty sure you would like to keep it private. So thank you so much for honoring my invitation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.